G'day legends, g'day superstars, it's Peps and it's time for Tipped Outs round 18 tips for a cracking round of football, and it all kicked off last night. It was an absolute belter of a game. The Sydney Swans getting the win by 2 points over the Western Bulldogs. 11 goals, 12 to 11 goals, 10, so pretty good kicking from both teams. But I think it just came down to the efficiency from the Swans heading into their 50. The Western Bulldogs, unless Ugle-Hagan and unless Norton kicked their goals, they struggled to kick a winning score, and a lot of it was put on the shoulders of the Bont having an absolute bag. He had a crack of a game, but in the end, happily, kicking 4 was the big difference between the teams. It was a narrow margin last night, and I'm tipping a narrow margin tonight. We're talking about the game between Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions, fourth versus third, 7:50 p.m. here in Melbourne. Two teams, one wants to cement their position in the top 4 being Melbourne, and the Brisbane Lions trying to crawl back to get to their home final because they know if they do not get a top 2 finish, it could be Sam Stozer for both teams. Melbourne having a few injuries heading into this one. We know Bailey Fritsch is out, Clayton Oliver as well too. They've dropped Brodie Grundy. That saying, even though they are under the pump, I'm going with my boys in a very narrow margin. I'm going by less than 2 goals. It's simply because the Brisbane Lions have got a record of 1-11 at the G. Yes, they beat the D's in a final last year, but it wasn't the Melbourne of old who were strong on the bowls. Unfortunately, they were pretty much hit down with injuries, and they were a shell of their former self when they went into the back half of that game. So I'm tipping the Melbourne to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brisbane do pinch this one at the G and really put Melbourne's not just top 4, but potential to miss finals altogether in jeopardy. So it means a lot more to Melbourne for this one. They've still got a 2-game buffer over the D's being Brisbane. All right, Collingwood versus Fremantle tomorrow, Saturday, the July 15th, 1st versus 15th at the MCG, 1:45. Collingwood by the length of the Flemington Straight. I say this a fair bit. It's probably longer than runway 2 at Melbourne Airport. Collingwood is just getting better and better every single week. Sidebottom comes into the team. But just when you think they couldn't get better, they've just got better parts to bring in, and they're just going to get stronger and stronger. I don't trust Fremantle after what they did to me last week. There's nothing worse than sitting on a plane coming towards your execution, and they will be executed in approximately 22 hours' time when this game goes live. So Collingwood, I'd be actually going more than 7-8 goals this one if it could get quite ugly. And once again, cementing their top of the ladder status. And for Fremantle, just makes Melbourne's first draft pick look even sweeter. All right, Gold Coast versus St Kilda tomorrow as well, 2:10 p.m. So interesting to have a day game up there at Gold Coast. 14th versus 6th, but I think this game is going to be a lot tighter than people think. Gold Coast, we know what's happened during the week with Stewie Dew. Stephen King comes over and takes over, and I think they will be ripping and tearing. A change to the game style, a fresh voice, and I'm ticking Gold Coast to win this one and really put a dampener on the end of St Kilda's season. They've been pretty putrid over the last couple of weeks, Gold Coast, but when you get a new coach in who's made some changes already, he's dropped a couple, bringing them into the team, I think at their home deck, they've got a lot to play for and a lot to show people. And I think players will also be on a little bit of edge for the incoming coach to say, hey, don't drop me, you want to pick me. So I'm going Gold Coast, and I'm going one quite comfortably after having 3 major injuries last week. They're going to be running on a smell of an oily rag at the moment. So I'm going Gold Coast. Well, about 5 goals over St Kilda. All right, this could be game of the weekend for many, many reasons. Is it the day that the streak finishes for Port Adelaide, or will Carlton be able to creep ever so slowly towards a finals position? 12th versus 2nd. It is 4:35 afternoon. A beautiful game just before the evening. 4:35, just as the local footy starts to finish. You can sit back in your chair and watch this one. Port have dropped an absolute bombshell. I think there's about 7 players out for Port this week. And Carlton, after their performance against Fremantle, they would be cherry ripe to win this one. And I'm going, originally I went in my TikTok, I did pick Port, but that was before the teams were announced. And I'm simply going to go with Carlton. With no Dixon, Horn-Francis not being in there, no Junior Rioli, it's going to make it difficult to mark, clear, and also crumb. And I think Carlton are going to take this one out. And it's going to probably the loss that Port Adelaide had to have, but against Carlton, you can just watch the Carlton supporters coming out. There'll be parties down Lygon Street. They'll want a national holiday for beating a team for the, I think, 15th in a row. So Carlton to take that one out. All right, this, in my eyes, besides the Friday night game, is the game of the weekend. Geelong versus Essendon, 8th versus 5th. But Essendon have been playing some cracking football. And Geelong, they've been ticking along probably 6 out of 8 cylinders on their V8. So if I had to go with a team at the moment, I would go with Essendon in a bit of an upset here. I trust them a little bit more. The forward line for Geelong hasn't really been firing. Yes, we know Stengel had 5. Henry had 4 last week, but that was pretty much a soft kill. And I think Essendon have been playing hard, contested footy, which is what a lot of supporters, not just of Essendon, but around the league, expect from this mob, especially under Scotty's tutelage. So I'm going with Essendon by a solitary point. I think it will be close, and I think it'll be against the grain. Squiggles got this one down as a 72% win for Geelong, according to all the statistics. But there has to be an upset, and I think this could be the one. And interestingly enough, if Melbourne lose this week and Essendon win, Essendon may have the opportunity to jump into the final top 4, only if they are able to pick up 20%. So they're going to have to win by about 150 points to make that up as well too. So I don't think it's going to happen, but if they win, they'll be on equal points with Melbourne. All right. Adelaide versus GWS is the next game to have a quick chat about. It is at 7:40 p.m. at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide should win this, even though GWS have been playing really good footy over the last number of weeks. I think Adelaide, after the debacle last week, they'll win this one, and win this one, I think, quite easily. They love playing at the Adelaide Oval. They need to keep in contention. Like I said, they are still a game out of the final 8, and they need to win this one. So it's literally who wins this one is a massive chance for finals. Whoever drops out is going to make it even more difficult. I'm going with Adelaide just at home. I just trust them more a little bit. And GWS, they're just going to probably have to wait to the week after. They are also still, we've got to take this into account, they're 18% behind Adelaide as well too. So even if they win, they are a far percentage behind a number of those teams in the 8. So probably means a lot more for the Giants to take this one out. But I think Adelaide are going to be way too strong at home. All right. North versus Hawthorn. And you couldn't ask for anything better down at Marvel Stadium, 17th versus 16th. Oh, showstopper of an afternoon. Probably a good idea unless you're a Hawthorn supporter to go out and just spend some time with the family. Go for a picnic, go ice skating, go watch a movie, go to a shooting range. Just do something except watch this game because I don't know what the quality is going to be like. So it comes down to the trust factor. Who do we trust more out of these two teams? Well, Hawthorn, I don't trust. And North, I don't trust. But I think just Hawthorn, I trust just a little bit more than neither of these two. So Hawthorn will win it. They don't really have much to play for. Like, they're on 4 wins. North are on 4 wins. It doesn't really matter where they're finishing. They're 3 wins behind 15th, so they're not going to be able to get any more higher on the ladder when it comes to selections in the national draft. So they might as well go out and try and win as many games as they possibly can. For North, same position. They'll still end up on 17th if they win this game, but it all comes down to a bit of pride because you've got to remember they haven't won a game since round 2 this year. And it all finishes off with the Wet Toast Eagles versus Richmond. I'm going with Richmond because West Coast are poo. Simple as that. So Richmond by 15 goals over West Coast. Hey, it's a stupid number. Do we care? No, we don't. But that's just exactly what's happened. Robbie Tarrant has retired. So, we'll see him out with a smile on his face. But West Coast, they're just looking for the season to finish. You've also got to realise that West Coast are on 1 win and 48%. And they're not going to win another game for the rest of the season. And it pretty much comes down to the point is that is going to be the lowest winning number of games since I think 2013, 2012 when Melbourne were going through their bad days. So there are my tips for a huge, a cataclysmic round 18 of footy. Going through them again. We did have Sydney winning last night. I'm going with Melbourne, Collingwood, Gold Coast, Carlton, Essendon, Adelaide, Hawthorn, and Richmond. Join me, Chris Pepper, and he is back. The J-Dog, Jamie the J-Dog Wallis, will be back Monday night, lace-out style, to review all the games and all the news out of a big weekend of footy. But remember, it's tipped out. It's how you want your tips. Give us a like, give us a review, and more importantly, hope your team wins. Tipped out, everybody.